Linkin Park are 5 nice guys from the LA Valley, who, along with the loudest set of vocal cords from Arizona, are living out the American dream.
They're great, man. They're a lot of fun. Very nice, very genuine guys. It's tough, man. And they, they really broke through, and it just shows, great dedication and great focus. It shows it can be done with anyone.
If there were rules to being a rock star, then Linkin Park would break them all.
They take care of their business. I think they're probably a record label's dream.
We would probably say that we're bass-driven rock, I would guess.
A bass band.
Not a lot of hip-hop people get with rock that way, but they're like the rock group that the rappers like.
I think it's just a matter of them knowing what they're about, and it wasn't a flash in the pan. It wasn't like high school kids having fun. They had serious thoughts about it, and they've made strong decisions, and they're following through on it. It's a career for them.
Their worldwide fan base has been built up through a combination of artistic talent, a keen sense of business, and musical dedication.
No sound like live music that is right in front of you, and it is almost a physical feeling, and that's what's unique about Linkin Park, that they're using this.
What I was seeing was not so much a bunch of lads that were having fun, and were in a band, as a sort of collection of almost young businessmen, actually, who were very focused, knew exactly where they were going.
The guys in Linkin Park are one of the most focused, organized bands that I've dealt with. I mean, they're really, really amazing. They work all the time, and they're very dedicated.
But the meteoric rise of Linkin Park was by no means a simple one.
There are very few stories in music where somebody really, put it in the face of the doubters than with Linkin Park.
Hey yo, first things first, it's time to shake ground in the 8th round. Box battle will break down for the beat.
Mike Shinoda, Brad Delson and Rob Bourdon were high school friends growing up in Agora Hills and Calabasas in the Los Angeles Valley area. Brad and Rob formed their first band called Relative Degree in 1996. Their aim was to play a gig at the Roxy on Sunset Strip and then split up. So they wrote some songs, played the gig and split up. Joe Hahn came into the picture when he met Mike whilst they were both studying at the Pasadena Art Centre. Meanwhile, at UCLA, Brad met bass player Dave Phoenix Farrell. The pieces were slowly coming together. Over in Arizona, young Chester Bennington was practicing his vocal skills in school theatre productions and performing in his band Grey Days, blissfully unaware of the life that was waiting for him in California.
There's the dream of making it in California. There's no question about that. California, along with Nashville and New York, are also pretty much the 3 biggest places where you can build a career.
It's got to be something in the air, man. I mean, it's been going on for eons, but especially for someone like them to branch out, coming out of LA is definitely a gem.
There are places and venues to play that agents go to that you can be heard.
It's kind of funny, when I first came out here, I called one of my old professors who has been in the music business for years, and I told him that I had moved from New York to Los Angeles, and he said, "Hey man, you're in a great place. There's no other place in the world where there's more work, and no other place in the world where there's more people looking for that work."
There is such a diverse culture in Los Angeles that It's amazing. I mean, some of the groups that I have played with, they're just so different. It's amazing that there are audiences for them, but there are.
It's a mecca for musicians from all over the world. It's an incredible melting pot. There's a huge diversity of cultures here. It's a great city in that respect.
I met Linkin Park, I'd say in about 1993, and me and Mike Shinoda lived right up the street from each other.
I had met Mike through Right back in the day, and Linkin Park wasn't established then. It was just, he was just going to school, kind of doing his thing, you know, working on various projects.
Ryu and Takbir make up half of the group's Styles of Beyond. They have toured with Linkin Park and are good friends with the band.
And he had a little production studio in his bedroom, and we used to just go in there and make demo tapes, like kind of parody songs, like Weird Al Yankovic type shit.
I think I had booked some neighbors of theirs, Hoobastank.
Mike Giangreco books all the bands for the legendary Whiskey A Go-Go Club on Sunset Strip. His relationship goes way back with Brad and Rob, to when they were in college and in a band called The Pricks.
I booked Incubus. I think from Incubus, they hooked me up with Hoobastank. Hoobastank brought the Pricks in, who were all kind of like from the same area out in the valley. And he just came up to my office. He had his cassette of the Pricks, and he said, "Yeah, we're the Pricks. We want to play." Handed me the cassette, and that was it. That's how we met.
The first thing I heard Mike write was the song was called Whatever the.
When I first heard Linkin Park's music, I did not know what to think.
We just said, okay, we're just going to write the first thing that pops in our head, and we'll just keep going back and forth and back and forth.
And it was pretty raw. I'll put it that way. It was really raw, actually.
It actually is a pretty good song. We were talking about it the other day. Put it out now, make $1 million.
And it's like they had heart. You could tell they had heart right from the beginning. So it's like, okay, we'll work with them, we'll see what's going to happen, and maybe the music will develop, maybe they'll get better. But when they first came to me, they were hurt.
With a name like The Pricks, the band weren't going to make $1 million. So, recruiting Joe and Mike, they became zero. The band would spend many an hour at local record shops, searching for new releases and showcasing their musical talent.
I thought the band was really interesting for a number of reasons, one of which they weren't trying to be pretentious in any way. Also at the time, I think there was an overabundance of rap rock, and they were tackling it in a different way.
A lot of groups had done like the rock rap thing before Linkin Park has done it. But I think with the exception of Rage Against the Machine, they're like the only ones that actually did it right. Because they really did rock good and they rapped good too. You know, so it could be accepted as authentic by both sides.
I mean, the general public hears the rap rock bands that succeed. The journalist hears the 100 that don't, and they don't succeed for good reason because they're just horrible.
David Jennison is a music writer and friends with Jeff Blue, who secured Linkin Park their first record deal.
For a band that's melding these different genres to actually stand out, you know, it's really exceptional, and that's what, you know, Hybrid Theory or Linkin Park, you know, actually was doing.
Brad was like into all kinds of music because when he worked for me, he was a doorman for me as well. So he'd be a doorman for me at the Roxy or the Whiskey, and he'd be seeing all these other bands that he would never ordinarily go out to see.
Mike back in the days had a lot of determination, considering we had limited stuff to work with. I don't even remember the name of the machine that he had, but it didn't really do anything, but he knew how to do it to its full capacity. It used to sound good. He used to bump it in the car and stuff. So, I mean, I could tell he was determined, and he had a good knowledge of music and how songs should be put together and arranged, because even his parody songs, they were good in a way, you know.
They played frat parties. I'd give them sound systems for free to borrow. Just take the sound system, go play the frat party. You know, the only deal was they had to pick it up, carry it to the car themselves, and put it back in the garage themselves.
We were loading our cases up by ourselves and lugging them around in a RV.
Brad was actually my waiter in my restaurant. And I remember one day we had this show, and my doorman called in sick, my cook called in sick, and I had a busboy who was like this old drunken acoustic folk guy. And all of a sudden the show just went off. I mean, Brad's running around, and our busboy comes and goes, "That's it, I've had it, I quit." I said, "You can't quit." He goes, "I quit," and he runs out. And it was like, you know, me and Brad just like fucking doing everything, and it's like, Also, the show emptied out. The place was a wreck. And I remember just me and him staying real late, cleaning it all up and stuff. I think he quit after that.
To tell you the God honest truth, though, I never saw it coming. I never thought in a million years that Mike would be in the biggest rock band in the world.
They did not feel they were gifted. They didn't think anybody was giving them anything on a silver platter. They worked for it.
Their original singer, Mark Wakefield, left Zero to manage a band called Taproot. As a new era in the band's life was upon them, they needed a new name. Hybrid Theory seemed apt, as it explained the unique styles of music the band blended together. They were also in need of a new singer.
Jeff Blue actually found out about Chester from a band he was in called Grey Days in Arizona. Actually traded some demo tapes between the band and Chester, and then Chester moved out here to LA and became a part of the band.
Chester came into play and they had label interest. They were just completely reconstructed, and the energy of the group just completely shifted, and it was extremely presentable, and it worked. It was the right package.
System.
Any band is just starting out. They need to get noticed. Linkin Park employed a street team approach to spreading the word.
A street team is a group of people that get together and they put together marketing items, promotional items for the band.
Rick Fowler is the bass player with Aramay. The band have taken the example of Linkin Park's past and used their street team techniques.
They get people, sometimes from the internet, sometimes that they meet at shows, people that are really interested in the band, to go out there on the street and hand out these promotional items and get the band's name out there and do a little bit of the extra legwork needed to get a band on its feet.
Well, they got that from like the hip-hop side of things. The marketing strategy is just street teams, which kind of started here in LA with Loud Records and Steve Rifkin and all that, like created the whole grassroots marketing strategy, snipes and stencils, spray painting stencils all over the place. And I guess it works for rock too.
I think that when used the right way, street teams can be greatly effective. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to go to a show these days and not see a bunch of people handing out flyers and CDs, and I think that the street teams that hand out the CDs or the t-shirts or the hats, rather than just flyers, have somewhat of a leg up.
I think they just applied the old school hip-hop way to get your name out there, and it worked.
We focus on their marketing techniques. We get out there on the street. We're taking it a step further by handing out CDs for free to people on the street and just hitting the marketing really hard like Linkin Park did. And that's one thing that I think helped Linkin Park blow up as fast as they did.
Linkin Park's efforts to get noticed were mostly based on the fans. I don't know that they were as zealous in going after the record labels. I think they left that to their publishing company.
Because I remember when they were Zero, I mean, they were always, rehearsing, always playing gigs and just, gathering their fan base.
A lot of people will hire a web designer and not even pay attention to their website. But from day one, these guys were focused on their website, they were focused on their fans, they were focused on their street teams.
Before you knew it, they really sparked some heavy-duty label interest.
Jeff from Zomba Publishing, he actually found out about him because one of his interns, Brad, the guitar player, was actually working for him at Zomba. And Jeff actually came out to the very first show they ever played, and he actually saw the potential back then and actually signed them off their first show, which then was a 3-year development situation. I mean, Jeff did the rounds of all the record labels. None of the record labels were getting it. I guess they were too busy looking for the next Britney Spears, ironically enough. And they found her in Jessica Simpson, I guess.
Warner Brothers showed interest in signing Jeff to their A&R department to seek out new musical talent. But he had one condition.
He basically said, okay, I'll come, I'll do A&R at your record label, but you have to let me sign Linkin Park. And they were still weary of it. And they signed Linkin Park, or they signed Jeff. Jeff's able to sign Linkin Park. They made the album. The record label still didn't get it. Then they sent it out to radio. And that's when all of a sudden everyone became fans from day one. There was a lot of, you know, retelling of history about how they always believed in the band because radio jumped on it immediately. They got it, the fans got it, it's just the suits didn't get it.
The band decided to change their name for the final time. Chester suggested the name Linkin Park, as he had to drive past the park on his way to rehearsals. They had to change the spelling for legal reasons, but their new name was the final turning point. The name of the park has now been changed to Christine Emerson Reed Park, not quite as catchy. Their first single, One Step Closer, was released in August 2000.
When I first heard the song, I was tripping because I only knew Mike to rap a certain way, like being funny and things like that. I didn't really know he had it in him. I didn't even know they had Chester until I saw the video. And then I thought it was great.
I knew when Linkin Park had their first single, they were going to be, you know, they were doing well. It was an undeniable single and it made sense at radio.
Released in the summer of 2000, their first album was Hybrid Theory, making reference to their former band name.
I remember getting the album and loving it.
Andy King is the marketing director and DJ for Total Rock.
It's the sound of Linkin Park.
The radio station prides itself on being the first in Europe to play Linkin Park.
It sounded fresh, it sounded new.
First album was incredible. You know, I loved it. The production was great. The music is there, and it's great melody.
There hadn't been at that stage the sort of backlash against new metal in inverted commas that was to come around probably in about 2001, 2002.
And Chester can actually sing, you know, he can scream too, you know, he's got some vocals on him, you know.
A landmark album in a very interesting period of rock's history, actually.
When Hybrid Theory was first coming out, I actually sat down with Chester and Mike and did an interview with them. And it was really interesting because here's a band that faced so much rejection and that had struggled so hard and been pushed so hard. And you rarely see a band that's as zealous and committed and that really believed in themselves. We're so used to other people not believing them.
2001 was Linkin Park's time to shine. Hybrid Theory became the best-selling album of the year, selling 5 million copies, proving that doubting record companies wrong.
How do people respond now? And what they always love to say to Jeff, they say, well, you know, the demo you were giving us didn't have these songs that were on the album. And he'd say, yes, they did. What are you talking about? Yeah, the songs are on there. You know, you want me to break it out? I mean, in the end, you know, Crawling, all those songs were on the original demos that we were sending out, and the people didn't get it.
There's great song content there. You know, they have great concepts and, you know, great melody. You know, you can actually sing along and, you know, you get the gist of their songs and, you know, it sets different moods for you, and that's what I like. It's very moody music, you know what I mean?
Linkin Park's music is different than what I've been hearing. It's really crisp, really clear, you can hear everything. So that side of it, the production value, was what I was really impressed by with Linkin Park when I first heard them.
Because these guys are smart guys. They're not just dipshits that went out and learned how to play guitar. I mean, it just goes to show, if you got a good head on your shoulders and you're smart about your business, you can get anywhere you want to get.
Because it's just raw passion and it's real. You know, they're not dressed up, no one's playing with them on strings.
There's a lot of talented groups out there, but it takes more than talent to get to that position. And from a personal standpoint, I think that's inspirational, just knowing if you know your stuff and you know where you're going to go and you're a smart person, you can get there.
One of the strongest points for Linkin Park is that they actually have songs. I don't care how you cut it, but music really, for me, is about songs at the end of the day.
And I think their music is really good. Like, I'm not talking about, like, yeah, I like that song, but I'm saying artistically it's played really good, and it's really heavy, and it's light at times too. It's really well produced.
They write strong songs that are very much of the now.
Chester's a live, raw guy, and Mike's very creative and talented in his writing, and it just works together. The chemistry of them all is just, you know, it's undeniable.
They have managed to garner the correct sort of attitude and lifestyle aspects that go along with those songs. So they are very much a band of the moment.
After a brief stint away with his band The Snacks, Phoenix came back to the fold. Linkin Park were reborn, and the band were on their way up.
These days it's really difficult, though, to get a second song on radio. Most bands only have one single. So when Crawling got on MTV and it got on the radio, it really showed this was a band that had some depth to it. But when In the End came out, and that was the biggest song of all, and it crossed over and it got onto more mainstream radio, at that point you knew they were headed for the stratosphere. Linkin Park is an interesting band because so many bands that sell those kind of units are so well known. You know, you can say that typically it's just a singer that's recognized.
I think it's easier for rock and metal bands to maintain a degree of anonymity.
I was talking to Mike at the show the other night about that. I was like, you know, did you get chased here by the paparazzi or something? And he was like, no. He goes, they don't bother me. I said, how do you manage to do that? And he said, I guess I'm just not interesting enough.
We don't get like mobbed all the time and stuff, and we've somehow been able to maintain a certain level of like normality.
You know, there are one or two very big names, like Ozzy Osbourne, like Marilyn Manson, who will always attract the spotlight. But, you know, otherwise, the media's pretty pig ignorant about rock, thank God.
There is no nights out with Linkin Park. You know, that's why the paparazzi doesn't follow. A night out with Linkin Park is, I take you to the Scotland Yard pub, you have 2 Newcastles, and you go home with a headache. That's a Linkin Park night out.
They're not a band that's gone very big on image. They've chosen to adopt a fairly low-key persona facially as much as anything, and perhaps concentrate more on the music, the direction that they're coming from musically, the way that they're going about it, which I think makes a lot of sense to them.
They go to any hip-hop show they want here, and nobody bothers them. I don't even think a lot of people even recognize them.
You don't really hear about Chester partying it up at Mondays at Joseph's in Hollywood. You know, these guys are probably spending most of their time at home just trying to think of different creative ways to express the band that takes them out of the norm.
But they don't seem to have a problem with it. They handle it really well, and I don't think they have anything interesting enough for the paparazzi unless they're boning like Paris Hilton or something, you know? Which they aren't, because they're all married.
When the cats from Linkin Park come into the store, they're easily recognized. They're a huge band over here. And I got, you know, customers sometimes, but a lot of the employees, especially employees in the guitar side, are coming over. They're like, "Oh, wow, the Linkin Park guys are here. Can you get an autograph for me? Can you get me into their show? If I bring a CD player," it's like, settle down, guys. It's like they're here to do some business.
One distinct thing about this band is they all had very different personalities. One thing I learned early in this business is never question chemistry. If it works, don't fix it.
I think one of the things that helps them get along is because they're not going after that rock star vibe. See, one of the things that happens is a band goes after a rock star vibe, and after a certain point they start to believe they're a rock star, and that's when everyone starts fighting. These guys realize where they came from, they realize who they are, and they're very focused on what they want to do.
To be a group together on the road, and to be doing interviews and a bunch of crap that we do, you have to have a lot of patience.
And communication skills. Huh?
I designed a system for Brad, had him come into the store one time, and I met him, and he was very soft-spoken, really sweet, nice, humble guy. Joe's also very much the same way, very humble, but he's a lot of fun.
Joe was there. He was kind of like that backbone. He was there. I mean, he just covered it all. He knew everything. He watched everything. He knew what was going on. He was, you know, just like his turntable spin. He was there, man.
I think the thing about Linkin Park that keeps them on top is that they're a total package. They have the songs with the good hooks that are really easily marketable. They have the looks that are really easily marketable. There's a lot of people in the band, and I think that at times that can help a band out because they get a lot of fresh ideas. Each member can give their input.
Well, 6 people being in a band, whether it's 2 people in a band or 6 people in a band, if you spend that much time with somebody, it becomes like a marriage. And I'm sure they have problems like everybody else does, but like I said, they're smart enough to know they have to make it work, because what else are you going to do? I mean, they could go do other things because they're all smart and they do things individually, artwork, whatever. But this is their business, and I think they know what they're doing, and they'll keep it together. And they're all nice guys in their own right. They're not confrontational type people.
They seem like such close friends that helps them to stay where they're at.
There's a certain intensity Chester has.
Chester invited us over to do the MTV Cribs at his house, and I tongue-kissed his dog for 15 minutes to get on camera, but I got cut from the scene.
He's hip, and he's very aware of everything that's going on, but you can get this sense that he really appreciates the energy that we're putting in, and each time we would play and give more and more energy, you got this sense of, I really appreciate what you're doing for us, and it was a nice feeling.
This dog was awesome. I couldn't believe it. Cleanest mouth I've ever had on a dog.
Rob is a really cool guy. I like Rob a lot, man. They used to make him come over and pick the equipment up from my house a lot. And he'd come over and he'd be like, oh, damn, man. He'd be loading that stuff in, but it would always be like, well, you're the drummer. You got to do this kind. You're used to carrying drums. So.
They keep everything in perspective, and I think that's what keeps them focused. They know they need each other. And with that as the ultimate goal, they keep their relationships positive and functional.
They're very regular, down-to-earth kind of people. You wouldn't, take a look at them and think that they were rock stars just to meet them on the street.
When so many bands get signed, they get treated as a rock star. Whereas these guys they basically got signed because the record label, wanted their A&R guy. That's not a really encouraging, uplifting, it's not a real self-esteem booster.
They're great, man. They're a lot of fun. Very nice, very genuine guys, and just, true to the heart kind of people,
Most bands that get signed, even if they got signed by the skin of their teeth, think they're the next Led Zeppelin.
They're kind of like the Do No Wrong group. I mean, they stick together. They don't have any internal problems that anybody knows of.
These guys realize, they realized, they weren't going to be treated that way, and I don't think they wanted to be treated that way. And I think it made them an everyman's band. It made them a people's band. And I really think that's what makes them stick out, and I think it's what's going to give them longevity.
They take care of their business. I think they're probably a record label's dream.
In July 2002, the band released Reanimation, an album of other artists' interpretations of Linkin Park tracks. Members of Korn, Jurassic 5 and Stained all put their unique touches to Linkin Park classics.
Our remix album, we really want to do something nice for the fans, kind of introduce them to a lot of the artists that we kind of grew up listening to. And I think a lot of these artists are kind of still pretty underground, a lot of people don't know them, so that's what Reanimation's all about. Right now we're in the studio recording another full-length album, so that's our proper second album.
Linkin Park keep a lot of creative control over their career. As former art students, Mike and Joe keep their creativity alive, not just through the music, but they also design all the artwork for the band.
I think one of the key defining characteristics to Linkin Park is the amount of involvement they have in every aspect to their art, from the visual to the album artwork to the way their fans are communicated with. And I think that's what the fans like. You know, for better or worse, you're getting the band. And at the end of the day, they have nobody to blame but themselves.
I think control of content is a very interesting point now, because the corporate record companies have got marketing down to such a fine art that they can actually market pretty much anything if they want to anyone. It's a lot about packaging, a lot about, you know, the look being decided probably in offices and boardrooms and just rolled out, and the band being told, this is what you look like, okay, go and learn your lines, really.
Well, Linkin Park has been able to maintain their creative control over their vision of their entire project between the process of the, you know, past 2 albums, which is very important, you know, for the success of a group, especially if you want to see, you know, more money in your pocket these days, because a lot of times you don't have hands on your merchandise, you don't have hands on your video direction, and they control all of that, which is great, and that's why they're at the top of their game now.
Not everybody can say they do all their own artwork, own all their own merchandising, and manufacture it in-house. They'd probably make an extra $5 million a year off of merchandising alone, so I think that's really smart.
What Joseph Hahn has done as a video director, you know, has really appealed and is connected with the fans. And in a certain sense, I think it's empowering for other bands. You know, Linkin Park's dedication to every single little aspect, you know, inspires other bands that they should equally be as concerned about all the minute details. And at the same time, when you're doing huge tours and you're putting together Project Revolution, when you're trying to work on new songs, you really don't have time to do all of this. So you know that this is happening with no small amount of sacrifice.
I think our artwork's awesome.
My Shinoda actually designed our group logo, 4 Styles of Beyond. I got a little thing there, a little SOB, he did that. So that was like our first little initiation, you know, we're all gonna get our tattoos and stuff like that, and it just kind of stuck with us.
They've always been good. Like Mike used to take, you know, 12 inches and paint the artist on the 12, he'd do like his own picture disc and stuff like that, and Joe's incredible.
Visually, he's amazing, so he just came up with that logo and it just stuck. We're like, wow, that's it. That's it.
I think they know what they're going for, and I don't think they're looking for somebody to make them into something. They know the sound that they have in their head. And if you know them as people, their sound, you can see their sound in the way they are as people. There's just a hint of Japanese animation in their rock and stuff like that. So I think they're really particular about what they do and who they work with. And I think at the end of the day, that's going to be their strong point, because they can't blame it on anybody else if they don't have a good record. And as long as I think they keep doing it themselves, I think they'll never run into that problem.
A Grammy Award for Best Hard Rock Performance in 2002 cemented the fact that Linkin Park were a true force to be reckoned with, and their appearance on the Matrix Reloaded soundtrack certified them as globally recognised musicians.
The people from the Matrix, they selected one of our songs to use in the movie. It actually runs right as soon as the movie ends, at the ending credits. It's a different type of thing, though, because it's an instrumental song. It's a song called Session off our album. There's no vocals on it.
Although fans had to wait 3 years between Hybrid Theory and Meteora, they weren't disappointed. They bought it in their millions and made it the 3rd best-selling album of 2003. And readers of Rolling Stone voted Linkin Park their favourite metal and hard rock band.
Well, I was approached to play with Linkin Park, I would say in late 2002.
Evan Wilson is the principal violist with the Los Angeles Philharmonic Orchestra. He's performed on film soundtracks including Kill Bill and Troy. Name an artist, he's worked with them. Madonna, Beck and Elton John have all requested Evan and his magic strings. So when Linkin Park needed a string section for Meteora, they called Evan.
So they called me, they asked me if I was available, and I said absolutely. I've always, I'm fond of rock fusion hip hop, particularly the hip hop. And I was into it in a second, and so if I'm available from the Philharmonic, I am there. Well, as I recall, it was a 2 3-hour sessions, and in each session you do 2 to 3 tunes. We run it down to make sure that all of the notes are right and they're in the right place. Then we'll record it, and we'll listen to see if if we need to change balances, also whether the producer as well as the arranger want to just make, tweak it a little here, bring out a line here, maybe add a little bit of a rhythmic thing. And that's basically how it goes on for the entire 2 3-hour sessions. It's a great working situation. It's always positive and upbeat, and that is no lie. I wouldn't say that about the Philharmonic. But about a session like Linkin Park, it was completely upbeat. We were very into it.
Linkin Park's use of an orchestra in their music really helps epitomize how they try to be different.
I think that their standard is high, first of all. So they want the best. Now, not all classical musicians, and please, this is not an immodest comment, but not all classical musicians can switch to that other kind of thing. I mean, you're talking to a guy whose favorite group is Earth, Wind and Fire. So, you got to have a groove.
The thing that's interesting, though, is a lot of bands will try to do that, and they do it so unsuccessfully. It just sounds awful, it sounds contrived. And it's, to a certain extent, I think when a lot of bands do it, it almost sounds like they're trying to be, like they're doing it to try to be cool or to show that they have culture. And Linkin Park is certainly not doing that.
When Linkin Park chose to have string players, it only enhances their unusual sound. Oh, they dug it. It was a great session. There's no comparison with the real sound and the sampling, no matter how good the sampling is. I mean, the resonance, they can't get that live quality, that live, since I'm a violist, that amber, deep baritone quality of sound. And particularly when you're in a group where you have people using instruments like mine.
And I think one of the ways where their use of, say, an orchestra or of classical musicianship really comes through is in knowing to limit the amount that's in a particular song.
As first seat of the Philharmonic, they give me an instrument which is a 500-year-old Perugino di Zanetto. It's 200 years older than Stradivarius. It is one of the great instruments of the world, and many times during studio calls, they have literally had to adjust the mic just to turn down my instrument because it is such a cannon.
Typically, where bands make mistakes, when they bring in, unique outside artists and say classical musicians, is they overdo it. They take it over the top.
When you get 12 people together with fine instruments, they resonate off one another, and it creates this incredible, it's like a symphonic sound, which you just can't get electronically. Brad comes in, and I think Chester was there, and he says what he wants us to do was he wants to do this mock, this little acting thing where he comes in, and he says, I don't know what the hell's going on, but you guys suck. It sounds like shit. And so we had chosen one particularly feisty cellist who was going to stand up and respond to him. So Larry stands up and he says, we don't know what the hell you're talking about, and why don't you go bugger off? I'm using the right vernacular, right? And so it was like, the tension, it was good. So, and then we all had a good laugh about it. But it was, they had a unique sense of humor.
It would be easy to just sit at home on a computer and knock out something which would, probably pass perfectly well as being an orchestra.
Linkin Park was very, very good in picking the exact moments to where to have these bands come in, and that's what makes it stand out.
What made the session special was that the guys were so accessible. You know, you do record with some artists who are divas and have attitudes, and these guys came in and they were, you know, joking around with us, and when we played something and they were really into it, they would come running out after the take was over and they'd say, yes, that is, you know, and that's just a great feeling because you want to give them what they want.
I think it's rather impressive that Linkin Park chose to use actual bodies at a time when, let's face it, you know, drum machines are very popular.
I mean, you literally could have somebody listen to a song and not even fully put together that the orchestra's on there because they did it with such subtle textures.
I remember after that session that I called my wife and said, oh my God, I just recorded with this group, Linkin Park. It was such a happening session, and it was a great feeling.
I had some other clients who I had worked with who knew the cats in Linkin Park, and they said you should go over and talk to Noel at West Philly Music.
System of a Down, Limp Bizkit and the Grateful Dead are but a few bands whom Noel Gould has worked alongside. Noel designs Pro Tools music editing software at West LA Music and counts Linkin Park among his happy customers.
Joe was really, really anxious to get a Pro Tools system. And I kind of got him on the phone and talked to him for a little bit, and they said, okay, no problem, I can design this for you, I can get you guys taken care of. When do you want to do it? They're like, today. I was like, really? Okay, well, come on down to the store and you know, we'll sit down and we'll figure out everything that you need. Well, see, everything that they do is for use with the band in one way or another. This was for his studio at home so that he could do his own personal work and all that kind of stuff, but these guys are really focused, and everything that they do is sort of a function of what the band is going to do as a whole. So they use systems at home, they use systems on the bus, they use systems all over the place because they're constantly working. Personally, I work with Joe Hahn here in the store, I work with Brad Delson here in the store. Those are the only two cats from Linkin Park who have actually made it into the store. But I work with their management very closely, and I work with other members of the band over the phone. I've designed about 7 or 8 different rigs for Linkin Park, 5 of them just for the bus alone. And so you've got a situation here where I did a rig, a smaller rig for Brad Delson for his house, and I did a pretty big rig for Joe Hahn for his house, and actually did a rig for Rob Bourdon for his house, and then did a bunch of rigs for the bus. So that these guys go, they do a show, they get on the bus, and as they're driving around from venue to venue, they're on the bus composing, they're on the bus working. So the systems on the bus are portable systems. They're smaller systems, they don't have as many input and output requirements and things of that nature because they can work on the Pro Tools rigs and do the different kind of sampling and things like that that they need in a smaller environment. They still got lots of plugins, they still got lots of effects and those kinds of things. The systems at home are more elaborate and they're more expandable, and they tend to have more controllers with faders that they can move and this kind of thing.
As a music journalist, what I hear in Linkin Park is a desire to take a popular format and really make it their own, to be able to be unique, to be able to be different.
If you mix the classical with the hip-hop, you're only going to get classical people to say, whoa, there's strings in that. I didn't realize that.
If there's one thing that stands out, I think it's really their perfectionism, you know, really an obsession with making every detail perfect.
And the hip-hop people are going to say the exact same thing. I didn't realize you used strings. I didn't realize that this was involved in that kind of thing. I mean, every time I talk to my friends about some of the people that I record with and that it uses this kind of instrumentation, they're fascinated by it.
What I remember they told me in an interview, say for Meteora, is there were songs where they rewrote the choruses 20 times. That, you know, they would sit on it and they say, okay, you know, this chorus is good, but let's write 5 more choruses and see if we can write one better.
When Linkin Park came out with the Meteora album, they called me afterwards and told me that I had gotten a mention on the album. And I was really pretty flattered because I didn't know that they were going to do that. But it's, you know, it's always a nice kind of, hey, thanks, because I work really hard for these guys, and it's great to, you know, sort of turn around and see that you've gotten a little bit of a thank you on something like that. You know, ink's expensive for 60 million copies.
When I first heard the songs on Meteora that we had played on, it's a big smile brings to your face because you can really, first of all, you can feel the energy that we put into it. The energy that we put into a session and into the music is directly in relation to how they treated us. And they were so friendly, and they were so upbeat, everything we did, every take we just gave more and more. And so you can hear that, and that's a great feeling.
I'm an old Grateful Dead head, and I'm a classically trained pianist, so I come from that, that sort of background a little bit more, from a jazz background and a blues background and all this kind of thing. But I like Linkin Park's music. It's immediately catchy.
When you see violinists and violists and cellists, you don't usually see them, going like this, and I just remember that feeling, and it was like now, it just brought a smile.
It's immediately recognizable. And that's one of the things that's terrific that you notice about a great artist or a significant band. The minute you hear them, you realize that's who it is. I always like it when my customers do well.
Linkin Park are very much a touring band. On the road for most of the year, they never disappoint their fans.
The gigs that they played in the early days were very good gigs. They were fortunate because I was in their corner, I was working with them. I was the booker at the Whiskey A Go Go, I was the booker at the Roxy. So I put them on really good shows at both of those clubs. They didn't have to go do any smaller outlaying clubs or anything like that. Their fraternity club party gigs were really good for them as well, because it brought a lot of the frat houses and a lot of the college kids from all the different schools in as well.
It's like they attract people of all ages. Young people, old people, people bring their kids to the shows, and they all equally enjoy it. And not a lot of groups can do that.
I remember going to what I would imagine was their first gig in the UK.
They had an extreme amount of energy, and it was unending. They were jumping all over the stage and really into their music.
And it was really exceptional how the fans reacted and how energized the fans were and how energized the band was and really how tight the band was.
I mean, the gig was very vibey, their fans were well up for it. And let's face it, they are a good band at the end of the day.
Well, Linkin Park's show is very, very animated, kind of like their videos. They're very, like I said, it's very visual.
They were cocky on stage. They knew what they were doing. They had guts, they had balls, they did it well. They weren't afraid of the crowd.
You could tell that they were really meticulous in every detail in the way they wanted to communicate their music, the way they wanted their music represented.
You knew they were special, that certain intimate feeling that you got with the band when they were playing. They were playing for you. That was one of the qualities that stood out with them.
And it was really interesting just to see the two dueling vocalists. To have one person that's an MC and the other that's doing, the melodic harmonies and choruses.
When you went to see Linkin Park, they were like, you're here so that we can perform for you. And that was important, and you could feel that, you could sense that. That was the soul of the band, the essence of the band that made them special compared to a lot of other bands that broke out at the same time as they did.
Oh, yeah, who wanna rip with styles, the whole place on the lookout for me.
The reaction from the crowd is insane. They, girls passing out and stuff.
The second Linkin Park stepped on stage, I mean, the whole entire place just lit up. I mean, fans are so loyal and dedicated to them that you truly felt the loyalty. They loved it. I mean, every show was just insane.
I would say over the years, as Linkin Park has developed their live show, they definitely have tried to create more of a show. A lot of times they were working with whatever budget constraints they had in the early days. Now that they have larger budgets, they really want to make sure that it's a multimedia experience.
Fans raging, screaming, singing every lyric, and just hands up, lighters, shirts, bras, whatever. But it was great.
You get the impression that in their live shows today, it's not something that they're just outsourcing to a bunch of video guys. You can tell that they really have a hand in everything that they do.
Their performances are awesome. They are really high energy. They interact with the crowd well. they give the people what they paid for, and they don't get up there and do some rock star bullshit that a lot of these groups do. And I think that comes through to their fans, and their fans are really loyal to them for that. And you get your money's worth when you go to a Linkin Park show.
When we went on tour with them, it was definitely our biggest tour we've ever been on. I mean, huge arenas and just great exposure for us. And it was crazy, you know. But it was our first shot as basically, you know, getting exposed to a whole nother fan base. So that was a great experience for us, and it was a lot of fun.
You know, it's just cool to like tour with some band when they're starting, and then they blow up really big, and you still got all the posters to look back on. You know, show your kids later on.
They had nice little neat deli platters and little fruit platters, you know, and you got your chips and dips.
I'm not gonna expose their secrets, but we have our dressing room, and they have their dressing room, and our dressing room is fully stocked with crap, and they'll sneak in one by one and take a little drink and stuff like that.
Plenty of water and tea, and you know, nothing really extreme that I see. No like extreme like red or yellow M&Ms and nothing like that.
Rather than relying on being someone else's bill, Linkin Park have set up their own music festival, Project Revolution. Linkin Park, Snoop Dogg and Korn made for an interesting lineup for their third Project Revolution tour in 2004, but that's the idea.
Rap and rock do go hand in hand. There's a whole section of the rock market that would say they shouldn't. However, you know, Linkin Park and Korn are both very much rap-influenced bands.
I think the reason that Linkin Park started Project Revolution was really the same impetus for so much of what they do, and that's really they wanted complete creative control.
There's a great deal of sense to be said in trying to marry up and cross over styles like that.
I think what you're going to have different fans coming to something like Project Revolution. The die-hard Linkin Park fans, you know, maybe they're not going to like every act on there, but they're going to trust Linkin Park's judgment. You know, they're going to defer, because obviously you can't like everything. You know, I mean, God forbid you put out a tour where everyone likes everything. I mean, it would just be like the Mickey Mouse tour. It'd be terrible.
It is a way of pulling in a wider audience than would just go along to one or two of the bands. However, I think it goes deeper than that. It's an overview of the youth culture at the moment.
So certainly people are going to have favorites on the tour, but I think the benefit of it is they're going to be exposed to stuff they wouldn't normally attend. And I think that's part of what most appealed to Linkin Park, is they're being able to put artists in front of people that wouldn't normally listen. You know, it seemed like they want to do a couple of different things with Project Revolution. They wanted to introduce some revolutionary new artists. On one of their tours, they introduced DJ Z-Trip, who is the hot American mashup DJ, which, you know, mashups haven't really infiltrated the American public maybe the way they have over in Europe. So that was a really bold move. They saw they had the opportunity and the platform to do it, to be able to do something that was artistically relevant and beneficial, and, you know, why not go for it?
A Live in Texas album was released in late 2003, giving fans a taste of the live Linkin Park experience.
Basically, when we saw what was captured on film on that tour, we were really excited about it, and we thought it represented our live show pretty well, or as well as you can by not necessarily being there in person.
Well, Linkin Park has their own style, and I don't know if the fact that they have become so successful using their particular style of music has opened the door for more people to follow in their footsteps.
The future of Linkin Park, I think, is endless. They can do a million things, or they can do nothing.
You know, you always run the risk of becoming a Linkin Park imitator at that point, and whether or not there's room for X number of Linkin Park imitators remains to be seen. There certainly will be people who will try to do that, but they have a unique style and they have a unique sort of approach to getting at that, and I think that they'll be on the cutting edge of that as long as as long as people want to hear it.
It's fascinating with Linkin Park because it's very difficult not to think of them as a veteran band at this point. You almost want to think that they came out of the early 90s, and they really didn't. I mean, they really, you know, they're only a couple of years old.
Where they go to next is going to be really interesting.
They could just decide they want to do underground hip-hop for the rest of their career because they got plenty of money to sit on. They made all the right decisions, and they're smart with their money.
As far as the future for Linkin Park is concerned, I think that they'll go as far as they want to. They have the dedication, they have the focus, they have the personalities to do really well, and it's working for them so far. So if they keep the formula going, I'm sure they'll do just fine.
It's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the future. You know, they're so driven and they're so meticulous. You got to hope that they don't just go crazy.
I would be quite prepared to put money on Linkin Park as individuals becoming players in the media world of tomorrow.
Judging from my younger nieces and nephews and our friends and their children, I think they are a growing entity.
The single biggest feature of these guys, their biggest strength in terms of what makes them successful, is their dedication and the fact that they're as organized as they are.
I think this is only the beginning. And I also think because of their innovative sounds, they're looking for new approaches to everything. I think this is just the birth.
I think they manage to stay successful because of their relationship with their fans, and they always put the fans above everything, and you know, I think fans remember that. And on top of that, I think their music just kicks more ass than everybody else out.
The guys in Linkin Park are one of the most focused, organized bands that I've dealt with. I mean, they're really, really amazing. They work all the time and they're very dedicated.
Gathering from what I heard from Mike is like they kind of want to do the same thing we're doing, just kind of make songs because you want to and put out independent records and stuff.
I wouldn't be surprised if Linkin Park perhaps found themselves getting a bit more creative and complex on a musical level.
I definitely see them, you know, blowing up the scene again with another great album.
I mean, there's a lot of stories that you hear about musicians who are completely disorganized and they're crazy and they're out there and they're flaky and all this kind of stuff. These guys don't fit that category.
And I know they want to put out big rock albums too, so I think they could do a mixture of both.
You know, I see Mike doing something great with art, as well as video directing and producing. So, and Joe the same. You know, and Chester just kicking back, enjoying the deal. Now, I don't know.
I think Linkin Park will do well as long as they continue what seem to be the cornerstones of the band's philosophy. And that's putting the fans first, number one, and number two, doing what they honestly believe is inside of them artistically. As long as they do those two things, they may have different levels of success.
But I see great things for them. I see a lot of them, like I said, jumping behind the scenes and, you know, expanding and, you know, running a label and getting behind other acts and developing them and sprinkling them with a little bit of their flavor, you know, and just really, really killing this industry, you know.
But, you know, maybe some records will sell better than others.
They haven't been around that long, but what they've done in such a short period of time is so big that they've got a million doors open for them, and I think they can do whatever they want to do, and I think they're going to do good at all of it.
But I think that they'll be comfortable knowing they did what they truly have believed from the start. And I think the fans will respect that, and I think they'll be around for a long time.
They're just so, you know, great at what they do that it's just going to keep breaking through. And as long as they continue to hold their unit together, which they only seem to be doing, they're going to grow naturally. And the sound's just going to evolve, you know, creative ideas, and it's just non-stop, it's never ending.
I know they've only been around a relatively short time, but they have something to say. That's really what it comes down to. And I like them too, so I'll make sure the word gets out.
gegeven zijn gericht over de economische aspecten.